Everyone talks about fighting climate change, which is great, but there's a huge question that sometimes gets overlooked. How are we actually going to pay for it all?
Well, here's a number to get your head around. To get to a net zero economy, experts estimate we need something like $4 trillion in investment, not in total, every single year. That's a lot of money. It's a massive challenge.
So that's the real question, isn't it? Where does all that cash come from? Turns out the answer has a lot to do with mobilizing the world's financial markets to go green.
So let's dive into that. We're going to talk about our planet's price tag, and more importantly, one of the really clever financial tools that's been designed to help foot the bill.
Okay, to get this, we first need to understand a basic idea from finance, the bond. Now don't worry, don't let the word scare you, it's actually super simple. Just think of it like a formal IOU. An investor loans some money to a company or a government, and they get a promise that they'll be paid back plus a little extra in interest. That's it.
Right, but what if you could take that simple IOU and, I don't know, give it a superpower? What if you could make it greener? This is where the hero of our story comes into play.
Meet the green bond. Now, the key word on this slide, the one that changes everything, is exclusively. The money from a green bond can't just be used for anything. It is specifically and legally set aside to fund projects that have a clear, positive impact on the environment.
So what kind of projects are we talking about? Well, think big. Things like renewable energy. These incredible offshore wind farms you see here, that's exactly the kind of massive, important infrastructure that green bonds help get built. Okay, but that leads to a really important question. It's one thing to slap a green label on something, but how does an investor know for sure that their money isn't just being used for business as usual? How do we stop greenwashing?
Well, the answer is an official rulebook, a set of guidelines that everyone around the world has sort of agreed on to make sure this whole market has integrity and transparency.
They're called the Green Bond Principles, or the GBP for short. Now, what's interesting is that they're technically voluntary, but they have absolutely become the gold standard. If you want to issue a serious green bond, you follow these principles. They create a common language so everyone knows what green actually means.
So how does it all work?
Well, the GBP really boils down to a pretty straightforward but really powerful 4-point checklist. You can almost think of it as the hero's code.
So here are the 4 core rules. Number 1, how the money is used, the use of proceeds. Number 2, how projects are chosen. 3, how the money itself is managed. And 4, reporting on what happened. These 4 steps, together, they create real accountability. Let's break them down a bit.
All right, let's start with the big one, the most important rule. This quote from the principles really says it all. The cornerstone, the entire foundation, is how the money gets used. It doesn't really matter who's asking for the money. What matters is that the cash has to go to a qualifying green project, period.
And the definition of green project here is actually pretty broad. It can cover all sorts of things, from building out clean transportation, like electric vehicle charging stations, to creating much better systems for pollution control or recycling.
And this is a great example of just how wide that scope is. It isn't just about technology and new buildings. The money from these bonds can also be used to protect and conserve our planet's vital ecosystems and all the amazing biodiversity, both on land and in the sea.
So what about the other 3 rules? Well, project selection just means the issuer has to be totally upfront about their green goals. Management of proceeds means the money has to be kept in a separate pot and tracked super carefully. And reporting means they have to publish annual updates on where the money went and, crucially, what impact it had. It's all about making sure people do what they say they're going to do.
But, a promise is one thing, proof is another. To build real trust in a market like this, you need someone to check the facts. You need independent fact-checkers.
This really sums it up perfectly. On its own, a company saying, "We're green," is, well, it's just a promise. But when you use the green bond principles, that promise is backed up by an expert's verification, and that adds a whole new layer of credibility and trust.
And that's why the GPP strongly recommends something called external reviews. You can think of these like independent auditors who come in and check if a bond is really following those 4 core rules. They are absolutely critical for keeping the market honest.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture here. Why does all this matter so much?
Because when you put it all together, the green bond principles create this trusted, reliable pathway. They help steer those huge amounts of money we talked about,
remember that $4 trillion number, and channel them directly into the projects that will actually build a sustainable economy and protect our planet.
So really, here's the main takeaway. By creating this common, transparent rulebook, the Green Bond Principles give investors, from huge pension funds to regular people, the power to put their money where their mouth is and directly fund the kind of environmental change they want to see in the world.
And that kind of leaves us with a final, pretty powerful thought to chew on. If the way we invest our money is what actually builds our future, then what kind of future are we all choosing to build?